ready?
I'm ready.
Stand by!
Good afternoon, Patrick Downing with Headspace and Timing. Happy 4th of July. And I want to take this time and introduce myself and kind of talk about my experience over the last year getting into competitive shooting. There's a lot of different styles of shooting out there. A lot of people buy the first, rifle or pistol. They just go to the range and they just shoot ammo and have a great time doing that. And a lot of people don't know that there is a lot of competitive style matches, all sorts of matches, from local clubs to big sanctioned matches across the country that you can get into, and it's not that difficult to really get into the sport if you've never done it before. And what I kind of want to talk about is taking that first step and getting into competitive shooting if you've never done it before. I've only been competitive shooting for about a year now. I started about April of 2019. We're now in the summer of 2020, and even with COVID going on, still getting to the range has been hard. But only been doing about a year of competitive shooting, primarily USPSA, Steel Challenge, and recently I've gotten into run and gun, which is a great time as well. Don't really need to talk about equipment. I got nothing here to show you. If you check out the videos from Brian and Tor, they're doing a lot of entry videos about what it's like and what equipment you would want for those basic types of matches. What I just want to talk about real quick is what it's like to actually get into it and let any new shooter out there know that it's not difficult, and it's okay, even if you're not that experienced, just to get into one of these matches within your area or surrounding area, because there are a lot of matches out there, more so than people actually know. Like I said, I've only been doing competitive shooting for about a year. Didn't have really any experience outside of the Army doing pistol shooting or rifle shooting, and anyone who's really Army knows that your time on the range is limited based on budget and your mission. So coming out here is a completely different experience than what you're generally accustomed to. Got my first pistol. It's a Canik SFX. It's a great pistol, great price for an entry-level competition gun, and immediately started training up to do USPSA style competitions. And it's a little intimidating when you get there for the first time, when you show up and you realize that they have stages with walls and steels and doors you have to go through, and there's a lot of interesting, elaborate scenarios that you'll go through for a stage that's only designed to be about a minute long. Unless you're really good, then some of these shooters get done about 30 seconds. So when you show up and you watch these stages, it's very intimidating to see what's going on within these stages. So my first experience at the Owensboro club was a fun one. The whole day pretty much went the same as the Texas Star, where I left a lot of steel up. I missed a lot of targets, and I came in dead last in the entire day in the class, but it's something that doesn't really matter. The ROs that were there, especially the guy who was following me, was super helpful. A lot of the time he would stand right behind me over my shoulder, look at what I was doing, and as soon as that stage was over, he would come over, hey look, stage was great, but you're pulling low left, watch your trigger squeeze, and he would just give you basic advice that I was able to apply on the very next stage. The thing about it is there's no reason to really stop there. Most people who may come in dead last or struggle that hard, there's no reason to stop, because you're only competing against yourself and you just continue on. Next big match I went to was a pistol match at the Irvington Sportsman League here in the Kentucky area, and it was the same deal. Went in there not really knowing the stages or being a little bit unfamiliar, but knowing enough for range safety. Show up to one of the stages, hit the Texas Star again, had 2 steels left on it, and the target just kept spinning and I couldn't hit any of it, to the point where I completely ran out of ammo. And that's one of those rookie moves at the time, where you're running 3-4 20-round magazines and you're blowing through all that ammo and you're still leaving targets up at the end of the stage. But again, the safeties there are more than willing to give you little pointers, advice. Nobody judges you for taking too long. Nobody judges you for leaving up target. No one ever gives you any kind of negative vibes or anything that would make you not want to come back. It's a very welcoming, and at the end of the day, they just want you to be part of the sport and to grow the sport regardless. The other style of shooting you get into, I've gotten into the last year, is doing run and gun. Run and gun is a whole nother level of competition shooting. It fits more my style of what I prefer to do, and it's less stage prep and more pushing yourself to a limit while you're shooting. Most of these are 5 or 10K biathlons where you'll wear your equipment. Again, check out the video from Brian and Tor when it talks about your basic run and gun equipment. You head off on your course, and again, it's very intimidating because everyone at these matches looks like an operator. Beards and hats and patches, and a lot of these communities, you can tell it's the same group that follow each other from match to match. So you don't necessarily feel as though you're part of the gang when you get there, but they're always welcoming. Oh, new shooter, hey, come on in. These are some pointers from last year and how we did. And these matches are run really good. Again, these aren't necessarily for brand new shooters, but once you have a few matches under your belt, definitely go and try these out. The stages are pretty much the same. The difference is you're running 2-3 miles between the stages, and you're completely exhausted by the time you get to that next stage. My first one I did, it was the same deal. We stepped off late in the afternoon. I had a partner. I actually ran with Brian. We got to the first stage, and he let me shoot first. So I go up there and I went and engaged the first target. It was no more than 15-20 yards in front of me. Little steel plate. You have to hit in the center. It pops the head. You shoot the head back down, and you move on. You can technically hit this target with 2 rounds and move on to the next one. Probably went through 2 magazines, and I could not get the head to pop. And by not being able to get through that target, I was not allowed to hit the next stage. I jumped off, and the ROs were perfectly, they were calm, they were relaxed, supportive. Hey, don't worry about it. Put this one aside, get to the next stage. And Brian goes up there and 3 shots, knocks it out, and he gets to hit the next part. So, you get past that stuff, but it's really fun to push through it. The rest of the day went great. I did a lot better on my second run gun. It's a more popular one out here in Kentucky called the Heartbreak. And I did a different style where instead I used my endurance and ran as hard as I could and had the 9th fastest run time, but the shooting was still terrible, so it still evened me out and kicked me to the end of the pack when it comes to actually placing. But that's where you're able to push yourself and figure out how your style of shooting is. Again, all these matches are completely open and welcoming to all sorts of new shooters. They want new shooters. This is the 4th of July. My wife just went on her first match today. I won't embarrass her too bad, but first match ever. She's been competitive shooting, really practicing for the last 2 months or so. The lockdown gave us time to come out in the woods and actually do a little bit of practicing, but she stepped up, really nervous, went on her first stage today, did everything right when it came to safety, and everyone there was like, oh great, come out more, we want you to keep shooting with us. So they were very welcoming to her, even though being a first-time shooter at her very first event. So I think that went over very well. That's really all I have for today. For any of you out here who are toeing the line, whether or not you want to take that next step, or if you just want to kind of go and watch first before you step up and compete, don't think twice about it. Go out there. As long as you're safe and you know how to operate your weapon, don't worry about your score. You're only competing against yourself. It's definitely an opportunity I recommend any new shooter to go out there and do, to kind of give you something else other than just shooting at the range. Happy 4th of July. Stay safe out there. Until next time.